Hey, what's up everybody? This is Manpreet Singh here.
And this is Patwant Singh, and we are the
Unbox with
Singhs. So, you've been up to some stuff.
So, for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been up to some stuff, as he just said. I've been playing around with the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. This phone is definitely a powerhouse phone, probably one of the best phones of the year. Top quality specs, everything. You guys heard a bit about that in my unboxing.
Yeah.
But Patwant hasn't had a lot of time with this phone. So
Giro.
I'm going to hand over this phone to him right now, and we're going to get his actual opinions on how this phone feels to him. You already know my opinion. The phone feels amazing. I think it feels excellent. So I'm going to see what Patwant thinks of this. So I'm going to hand this over to him for the first time. Here you go, sir.
Wow. Yeah, like, I like this because right away it's like I'm holding it up with my index finger.
Exactly.
And it's not too much weight on my pinky. And,
so you might recall in our other videos that he doesn't really like the weight being on his pinky. So
yeah,
this camera bump, very functional, but it's also very huge. So
yeah, like look
at that. You can prop up the phone with your index finger.
It's actually nice because I have we both actually have the, we didn't talk about this in any other videos, but we both have the S21 Ultra.
We sure do.
Yes,
here.
Right
we
here.
both got an S21 Ultra.
And for me to have a phone this big is really strange, and for you to have it is very normal. But the thing that I noticed with this is sometimes I could kind of push up depending on the angle and depending on the hand I'm using it, with my left hand more so. I can use the camera bump, but with this, it's all the way
camera bump
across.
goes all the way across.
So it doesn't matter which hand I'm using. Like right now, look at that. It's not technically on my pinky at all. Like I can.
It doesn't have to rest on your pinky.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
I like that. So I'm not gonna complain about that at all. And this doesn't feel like too heavy on my pinky, and it feels like the weight distributes better because I can anchor it now.
The phone is very heavy. So just to get that clear, the phone is heavy. It's just you're able to anchor it with that index finger, and it makes a big difference.
So it doesn't feel as heavy, I would say. That's cool.
It's a better balance.
Yeah, man. No, it feels nice. It reminds me of when I was using the S20, the Samsung Galaxy S20.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed with that phone was like it's not too wide, it's narrow. It's taller for sure, but it's narrow, so you can hold it and it's comfortable in your hand. And this is giving me that kind of vibe right now.
That's cool.
And wow.
So now that we have your first thoughts and the physical dimensions and stuff on the phone, was there anything that you wanted to know about the phone? So since I've been using it for the past 2 weeks, you could basically call me an expert on it. But you haven't had too much time with it. So is there something that you?
First and foremost, I got questions right away. First and foremost, like how is this? Because you guys, there's a second display on the back. Now I know about this phone, but I mean I've seen reviews and I've seen pictures and I've read up on it. But this display, like how functional is that to have a second display on the back of the phone?
So I'll tell you how I used it. So personally for me, when you're sitting in a meeting, when you're sitting in places that, it doesn't look good if you're looking at your phone. I actually didn't pair my watch to the phone. So anytime I got a notification, looking at my watch was totally useless, right? As you have it sitting down on the table, this display doesn't stay on all the time.
So it's not an always on display.
It's not always on. You have to double tap it. You can choose between 10, 20, and 30 seconds for the display time. So as you can see, it turned off now. We can double tap and the screen comes on.
Okay.
This screen can display, here, I'll put it a little bit closer for you to see. This screen can display messages. The screen can, you can answer phone calls from it, which is actually kind of amazing. But that part kind of seems like a gimmick to me. I don't think that you would ever need to answer the phone by sliding the slider right here. Like,
yeah,
you kind of have to still pick up the phone and either choose speakerphone or.
So when you answer from there, does it automatically go to speakerphone?
It did not. So it was kind of weird.
Then,
so it's basically like one of those things that you can turn it on and just tell the person, "Hey, hold on."
Which is pointless.
Yeah, it'll just be like, hey, hold on, I need a sec, I'll grab the phone in a second. So it's kind of...
So if, you know, in my opinion, if that was like a little small, like an OLED panel, they can always on display it, then I believe it could be quite a bit more functional. The only thing I would assume that that's functional for is when, you know, I'm taking a picture of you and you can see yourself.
Exactly. So that part is really cool. So if I'm to take a picture of someone using the main cameras, they will be able to see themselves in this display. So it's not the clearest thing. If you're standing 10 feet away, clearly this is a really small screen, so it's not going to really be that beneficial to you.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to take a selfie, you're going to see yourself in there, and you can take a selfie with your really good cameras versus the much lower quality
front-facing camera. Yeah. Right? One thing I noticed in the unboxing video was this. Can I show everybody?
Yes.
This flat panel at the top and I believe flat at the bottom, it's kind of doing a hybrid of the Samsung sides with the iPhone now being flat and Sony too.
Yeah.
Flat top, which is sorry, the Note 20 Ultra also did that at the top, right?
Yes, they did.
So that's kind of cool. So it's not like design wise, like I actually like this a lot, and I like how this reflects in the light. But I mean, like, so you used it, I didn't use it, I'm just physically holding it, right? First of all, how do you feel? Like, this is ceramic.
It is ceramic.
So how do you feel using a ceramic phone? Does the wireless charging work good, and like, how is that hardware wise?
So when it comes to wireless charging, as you know, the wireless charging itself works fine, but this has reverse wireless charge.
Yeah.
So when you're using reverse wireless charge, what I noticed was if you touch the two phones together,
it just does it.
Look at this gap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's not always reliable when it comes to it. So if you're going to use a phone to charge, you're going to have to do this and hope that you can make it work, or you're going to have to do this, right? So it's going to take a little bit of guess and test. It's not a deal breaker by any means, right? It's not a deal breaker by any means. Like, this is something that, you know, you can easily get past, right?
So the gap from the camera.
So this gap, when you put it on flat, definitely has an impact, and that happened with my. It happened with my iPhone that I tested it on, and it also happened with this Samsung.
So with this case, let me check this case. I got a Spigen, shout out to Spigen, they can sponsor us if they want. I got a Spigen case with the S Pen slot on my S21 Ultra. It kind of flattens the camera bump a little bit. So I'm guessing with this came with a case, didn't it?
It did come with a case.
Does that give you any sort of...
on, it kind of helps, but the gap remains.
Okay,
so with my iPhone, that doesn't have a huge camera bump because that was the XR that I was testing it with.
Yeah.
So it just has the one camera at the back, and it's tiny. There's no camera hump there, so
it actually works.
So it's definitely gonna work.
It's charging.
It's charging up from the Samsung right now.
With the gap.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually, look at that. It's charging.
So it is definitely.
You can't see it on there, but there's quite a bit of a gap, at least like a 1/4 of an inch gap. And okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was just one of the things that I had noticed.
This would work
I figured that would be something that would be useful for a review.
So what was your favorite between the two things? You're mentioning battery life and camera, so those are probably two things you noticed quite a bit.
Those are two things that I actually really liked. Battery life easily lasts a day. So this is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah.
So it's a huge battery.
Okay.
It definitely lasts all day. Yeah. There are absolutely no battery issues.
So it lasts all day. And then how was the camera?
Camera, I'm gonna give it
out of 10. Out of 10.
I'm gonna give it about an 8. Okay. And the 8, it's getting an 8 because this super zoom or whatever, the 120 times, it's completely not usable, right? Any of the pictures you take, they're not usable. That's not something that is going to be feasible at all. You can do 30 times pretty good. You can do 40 times pretty decent. But anything beyond that, they're completely useless pictures. So my recommendation is, if you want zoom, don't use a cell phone.
Get a real camera with a
camera with a real lens.
But what about just basic, just snap?
Basic point and shoot, like the majority of the people are going to use.
Yeah.
It's great. It does have one major issue that I'm not a fan of, that I'm hoping that they'll fix with the software update.
What's
that is the shutter speed is too slow. So if you're going to take a picture
one
of
of
kids or pets or something like that, you're not going to wait for them to be posing for you. You're just going to want to snap that picture
Because
right
definitely
away.
your dog or your newborn baby is just going to hold still for your shot.
Yeah.
So then, you know.
So yeah, so when you press it, you notice that there's a lag time of at least 1 second pretty much every time you take a picture. So iPhone's got it beat in that department. Pixel's definitely got it beat in that department. So those, if that's
Even
something that's important
Samsung.
to you, even Samsung has
Yeah.
improved. They're a bit slower, but
Better than
they
this.
have improved definitely better than this. So that's something that I would also suggest.
So, like, I'm wondering, like, you know, if there's a lot of phones that'll come out, or a lot of anything that'll come out technology-wise, and they'll say, okay, this is going to get better, it's going to get better. I don't want to wait. Like, when I unbox a phone, it should be what I want right away.
Exactly. It should be what you've advertised, and that should be what I get instantly. I don't want to have to wait for a software update or whatever. With this, they probably meant for it to be that.
Yeah.
And then maybe some complaints are going to change that. But I'm not happy with the shutter speed. That's a huge negative in my eyes.
One thing I remember you talking to me about a while ago, like this is years ago, we used to talk about haptics in phones, me and you.
Yes, motor. This one has an excellent vibration motor. It has really cool haptics. When you're clearing all the apps, it has this really cool vibrating motion that it has, and I think it's such an awesome thing. Like, it's just
like
no other phone does it, so it's really cool to me.
Like a little thing, eh?
Yeah, it just does like it's like you can see the apps leaving, but you also feel them leaving.
Oh,
that's
cool.
them closing at the same time, so it's actually really cool.
So would that be your favorite feature? If not, then what would be your favorite thing of this phone?
I think one of my favorite things is this always on display. So you see how there's the globe there?
Yeah.
Now if I do a double tap on the screen, so this is the always on display. If I double tap, it zooms in and goes further into the earth, right? And then when you unlock, you can see that it goes right in, and there's like it's in like a cavern. You can see water down there. So I think that's really cool the way that is. The other thing is when you come to the always on display, which it's on right now, you can see the time here. It's 9 p.m. You can see that the earth is also darker. So it actually goes with the day.
Oh.
So when it's morning, you'll see, the east will start to be lit up by the sun.
So it's based on how, like, your perspective where you are on the planet will look.
So it doesn't show you on the planet where you are, or like on the always on display.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, that would be pretty specific.
But it shows the Earth based on the
but
time
it does
of day.
show the Earth based on time of day.
That's pretty cool.
So it is pretty cool. I do like that aspect of it.
So that's probably your favorite thing, I guess?
I think that's one of the coolest things.
What would
that's something that I've never seen on another phone.
So one thing I just noticed, you just unlocked it. You have 6 apps on the app drawer at the bottom.
Yes. So that is something that is also special in the Mi UI.
Yeah.
You can drop 6 apps down here. You can't do that up on the main area.
The most I can get on my Samsung is 5.
Exactly. The
And
most you can get on that. You have to make a folder and add more if you want to have more in there. But I like having that quick section. So that's pretty cool.
So how has the software been based off of that? Like, it's Mi UI. It's on Android.
It is on Android.
But
the
how's that
MIUI
skin?
skin is pretty heavy. So you can see the icons are all boxes where they would be circular on a Pixel.
Yeah.
They're like squircles on a Samsung. So these ones are just, straight. They're very boxy. If you look at the menus and stuff, the menus are very different too.
Yeah.
Like the menus are just very plain. There's nothing that's...
There's a Samsung for comparison.
Yeah, so Samsung I think is laid out better. But then that might just be because this is my first experience with a Xiaomi phone as well.
Yeah.
I haven't had one previously. I haven't used one previously. So that does make it a bit different.
Okay, so the reason I asked you about the haptics and then I went into the actual UI and software of this phone is because I used to have a Huawei and you have had it as well, but I used mine for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of these phones that are manufactured in China, they have very similar attributes to them, OnePlus included, where the haptics are often very weak. And I feel like the software is often quite heavily littered with their own UI, and it's not as stock as can be.
So yeah,
except for maybe OnePlus in that regard.
That's definitely true for Huawei.
Yeah.
And this is fairly stock.
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
this model is actually a Chinese model.
Okay.
So this isn't
The
It
international.
isn't an international model.
Okay,
So
okay.
it took me a lot of editing to get the Google apps on here and doing all that stuff to make it the way I like it, and I still couldn't get it exactly like I want it. Like I still can't swipe to get the Google feed. As you can
What
see,
do you get?
this is not English.
Mandarin or Cantonese?
Yeah, so it's not, it's not fully functional
Wait,
or the way that I
What
like
was
it.
this?
So this is the available memory. So you can kind of shake it around and you can see it.
I mean, first of all, I like the UI for the always-on display or the lock screen.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
So I think aesthetically, this phone is very good.
Aesthetically, it's pleasing.
Based off
It's
what I'm
very
looking at,
nice.
like
the way it feels is really good.
it intrigues me. What do you not like about it? Like what would make you like? I guess I don't think you're going to keep it. You're switching back to your S21 Ultra, right?
I'm going to be switching back to the S21 Ultra.
So why?
One of the reasons is this fingerprint scanner. So if you take a look, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but if I press the fingerprint scanner, it's extremely bright. Now I think I just locked myself out, but it's extremely bright. So if I'm sitting in the dark and I want to unlock my phone and I want to do it quickly using the fingerprint scanner, it lights up and it actually is bothersome to the eyes. I have this exact same problem with the OnePlus phones.
Yeah, I remember that with the 8 Pro.
Exactly, with the
Yeah.
8 Pro, and then with the 9 Pro as well. I have
The 8
exact
Pro
same
is like
problem.
quite a bit.
Yeah, the 8 Pro is definitely worse. So
Yeah.
that part I don't like. I also don't like the Chinese ROM. That's making it difficult because I can't customize it exactly the way I want.
Yeah.
MIUI locks down a lot of stuff, so I tried to use other launchers, and MIUI will actually say this is not recognized, so it cannot be used.
Oh man.
So it's actually kind of crazy. So I tried to use other launchers. So I
use
dress
Nova
it up the way I
Launcher on
want.
my Huawei to save grace.
You can
with
see,
their-
look, I got Nova
Yeah,
Launcher here,
yeah.
and I've also got Nova Prime. Both of them are there, and I could not use them. So
Wow.
that was a bit frustrating. So I maybe they don't use them too much in China. Like I don't know, right? Like they've got different habits than we do, and they prefer.
They're also
different
their
things to
regulations are a lot different than ours.
Exactly. So I
And-
think a lot of that does come into play as well. The other thing that I noticed, this is completely random, but it's very significant. That is, sometimes I will receive a message, or maybe a Snapchat or WhatsApp message, text message, and it won't actually notify me. So it'll vibrate, but if I'm not holding the phone, I don't know that it vibrated. So on the always on display, I won't see that there's been a message. And then if I double tap and go into the lock screen, I may or may not see a message. So sometimes you have to actually go into the app so that it displays the message. So I don't know if that's just a software bug that they need to
Seems
clean
like
up.
it, but
That's what it seems like. But
Is it
I don't
reoccurring?
know. Yes, it is.
so it's always like
it's
that.
pretty consistent. With Snapchat, it happens all the time. So
Okay. Well, maybe they don't like Snapchat.
it's possible that they don't like Snapchat. Again, certain apps don't work in China, so maybe we're forcing things to happen that are not meant to.
But no, for sure. I mean, so like, if there's one thing, if you could pick one thing about this phone, because I want to play with it. Like, I'm excited. After we finish this video, I'm going to actually mess around with it. But if there's one thing, only one thing you could pick that would be like, I'm returning this phone. What would it be?
The one thing that I absolutely dislike.
The worst of worst things about this phone for you.
Man, I think it might be a tie.
Oh, well,
I think it might be a tie with the Chinese ROM.
yeah.
Just because I can't understand it. I can't read it, so I don't know what it's saying. And every little while I see these like celebration, like confetti fly down the screen, and I don't know why it's happening, right?
Yeah.
So
It's just
I don't know
celebrating
what
you.
to think. I guess it's just celebrating me. I don't
Yeah,
know, right?
I don't know.
So it's a combination of that, and I'm still gonna add in the fingerprint scanner, and I'm also gonna add in the shutter speed, because the camera speed is important to me, and since the shutter speed is so slow,
Yeah.
I'll have to make it a three-way tie.
Wow. Okay, so just a side note, we do have a video coming for you guys about our review on the S21 Ultra, which is going to be quite unique because we both have it and we both like it. So in comparison to that, because I guess that's the real competitor of this phone, would technically be the S21 Ultra
Yeah.
by Samsung. Has Samsung really nailed something this year? I mean, if this big competitor this thing came after, and it was in a way that it was like, I'm going to take you out, Samsung.
Yeah.
And can it take Samsung out? What do you
I
think?
think pound for pound features wise,
Yeah.
it does take Samsung out.
Okay.
So it does have cooler tech, like this screen. It does have cooler stuff on it, but functionality wise, maybe because we're North American users versus
Maybe, yeah.
versus in China.
Yeah.
For that reason, usability, just the way the One UI is set up, I would pick the S21 Ultra.
And in our video for that, you'll see why this year
Exactly.
me and him are both rock. And I don't rock
Yeah.
big phones, but like here's a comparison just to kind of show you guys. I took the case off. Shout out to D-Brand with a robot camo case, who are more than welcome to sponsor our videos and channel. Yeah, I mean,
It's pretty much the same.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
I like that the camera's on the other side. I think you mentioned that in the unboxing.
That is
video.
what I mentioned on the unboxing. I do like the camera on the left side versus the middle because I feel like it gives you more space for notifications, and it just leaves a cleaner notification
It's a
bar,
little
I
bit.
think.
The Xiaomi is a little bit sleeker. Just the curves on the
Yeah,
back is a
yeah.
little bit narrower, kind of like the old iMacs. You know how they narrowed and they curved in the back, and it seems, because of the way it tapers and stuff, it seems a little bit thinner.
Yeah.
Even though it's not. When you look at it side by side, it's about the same. This is a tiny bit thicker, the Samsung.
Yeah.
But it just seems way thinner.
Which
just the way
is which is also weird to me that the Samsung is thicker because this has a bigger battery,
yeah.
right? And like weight wise, this is a heavier phone too.
But keep in mind, this has the optical sensor and
Exactly.
different
So
things inside.
Having the optical sensor gives that more points too, but that's
Yeah.
for the next video.
That's
So
for the
that's
next one.
something else that we'll discuss.
Wow.
Did you have any other questions about this phone?
And yeah, I do have one huge question,
Yeah.
because we'll critique our phones so
Yeah.
much, but what do you absolutely love about that? Like, what if I was like, this is the only phone you can have? What is your saving grace on this phone? Like, what do you absolutely love, your favorite feature on this phone? I know you've talked about some things you like, but what's your absolute favorite?
I think my favorite feature is probably going to be the way the wallpapers do work. I think it's just so cool. I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
And like, we've played with a lot of phones. I've never seen one that does that. You rarely see an always on display that's able to move, right? They're usually just stationary pictures.
Static, yeah.
If anything, they're in one spot. So I do think that that's a really cool feature.
So the interface is very...
The interface is pretty cool with it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Having 6 icons down here, definitely a bonus. Like, it doesn't seem like a huge thing.
No, it's huge.
But
I'll tell you.
when you have a 6th icon down there,
Yeah.
it's awesome. And that's usually what we use Nova Launcher and other launchers for, is to
add,
be able
yeah.
to customize and add an extra icon.
I think
down
6
there.
is the perfect one, because there's always your 2, 3 ones you're always going to use, like your phone and messages.
Yeah.
But then you can customize like 4 things you just really, really love.
Exactly.
And that's a good number.
And I think that, those are probably my favorite things. The rest of the stuff, this is something that you'll use, but you're not going to use it every day, right?
Yeah.
This is like a once in a while thing. And like I was saying, beyond 6 or 7 feet, this little screen, it doesn't help you take a picture. And
Yeah.
I don't take that many selfies that I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Here's let me take another picture.
Side note, so as you're holding it, I'm looking at it with the lighting and everything. That camera bump is way thicker than this camera bump.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. So let's see if you guys can see the comparison there. You might want to turn this one around so we can see it from the other side too.
Not a problem.
There you go. So you can see that's the difference. So this one also has, you can anchor it with your finger, not as well as this one.
You have to use your left hand for it. But it works. I mean,
It does work.
yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely an interesting phone, eh?
Yeah.
I think I like seeing these phones that are cool and interesting, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of like, this is kind of cool.
That's what drew me to it. I'm hoping that the international model will be, one that I like more. Probably going to give that one a shot too. So we'll see when that one comes. They did tell me, like the supplier that provided this one, that I bought this one from, they did tell me that at the end of May, they should be receiving a shipment of the international ROM. So I'm pretty excited for that.
So maybe we can do an update for you guys.
We might do an update with the international model.
Boy.
But
Rate it out of 10 for me then. So if you had to give this a solid out of 10 rating, what would you give it?
I would give it a 9.
Okay.
I would give it a 9.
Okay.
Because physically it is good, and the things that I don't like are, they're not deal breakers, but they're just annoyances.
That for me, that shutter thing would be a deal breaker.
Yeah. So the shutter thing could be a deal breaker, but I give that score based on, hopefully they'll fix that with a software update.
I can't
but
be that
as it stands right now,
yeah.
okay, I'll revise it and I'll give it an 8 because the shutter is important.
Yeah.
But everything else on this phone is definitely top notch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely well made.
So it potentially could be improved with software.
Oh, actually, let me revise and make it a 7. They didn't include a cable and they didn't include a charger.
Okay.
So they took it a step further than Apple and Samsung.
Okay,
by
but
not even
just the
including a cable.
device opposed to.
Device itself still gets an 8.
But the overall product is probably just like a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean,
so I
Samsung
gave you
got
a
rid
few
of the-
different. I give you a few different scores. So yeah.
Yeah, you guys can see that in the unboxing video that there's nothing in there. But you know, there's a little saving grace in the fact that they gave a case.
Yes. So they do give a case, and in the international ROM model, I did hear that there's going to be the 67-watt charger included. So this might just be something for China. So, I'll keep you guys posted on that once I do get that one.
So the score's a 7 until the
So the score's a
international
7
one comes.
Until the international one comes, it may be updated to a 9. We'll see what happens, though. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Until then,
Subscribe, share, comment, let us know what you think, give us your feedback. Let us know if there's any other devices you want us to check out. And we want to give a shout out to MH Photography, who's doing our videos for us now. Amazing job. You saw it in the unboxing video for this phone.
Yes.
And a lot more stuff coming, and a lot more fresh stuff coming.
happy to have MH Photography with us too.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, awesome to have you. Thank you. Yeah, peace out, guys. We will see you around
In the next one.